sometimes we finish at 10 to 1 or even a quarter to 1, which is very exciting. So, welcome. I hope you got your orders in with the men and women in black. And my name is Derek Marabon. Founded this organization a while ago. It's been a while. And we have a lot of people here every week to hear great speakers, like Edward Vilmetti over here. And Stacy next to me, Stacy Colick, is with Dollar Bill County, and she is our treasurer. The reason we have a treasurer, as you know, you pay $10 to your server for your food. Okay, LA2M is a nonprofit, which means we're actually going through the process of applying for a nonprofit. Robert Shannon, who's not here as a CPA, has been helping us do that. It's been a very painful process, right? A lot of forms, paperwork, it's ridiculous. But we passed the hat. So if you think of, excuse me. If you think of, I don't want you to miss this is important. We passed the hat. So this is very old school, and you can donate, suggest a $3 donation if you like. Okay, so Stacy is our treasurer with Dollar Bill Copy. She is passing the hat, which is actually a see-through clear bucket with an LA2M logo. Okay? That's our hat. How many people are here for the first time? Very first time? Great. How many people came just to hear Ed Vilmetti? Woohoo! Yeah, there's a lot of Ed Vilmetti fans in this town. Really there are. I mean, my goodness. I owe a great debt to Ed Vilmetti. I mean, he runs the A2B3 lunch, right? You been to A2B3? A lot of you? Okay. That's all the, it's geekier than lamb. Okay, that's tech. It's very tech. And it's incredible. And just people come out, and it's not just tech, but like a variety of people come out who are programmers and developers and just different kinds of people. And they meet over at Eastern Accents every Thursday, right? So that's been going on for a long time. I used to go there a lot. And then I said, you know, Ed, I'm thinking about starting a marketing lunch. What's your secret? And he downloaded all his secrets to me on how to do a lunch, and I'm sure he'll talk about this. And then we started Lamb, and look at this. So, but Ed's great. For you newcomers, we do have a LinkedIn group. I encourage you to join. We have a Facebook page. I encourage you to become a fan. Okay, you can post things there. And someone just brought up the idea that maybe LA2M.org should have a job board. Does everyone like that idea?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, we got to talk about that, because I don't know if we do that for free or if there would be a slight fee to post on the job board. I'm not sure. So we will talk about that. And what else? What else do I need to say? Okay, so the format of this event is speaker speaks for approximately 30 minutes. There is time for question and answer. And then we go into introductions where you get to go around the whole room and everyone passes the mic and introduces yourself. Okay? Give us your name, your company, etc. Roger Rail records this. This is now streaming live on the internet, on the World Wide Web, at la2m.org/live. Okay, you can watch it. Vince Shimolevsky at VC Web Design records it for podcast. He then posts those podcasts, which you can listen to. So if you're new, there's a lot of great talks you probably missed. Feel free to go back, take a rainy afternoon, and watch those videos. Okay? And so now Ed Vilmetti, who's a good friend of mine, he is with Arbor.com. But he has vast experience in tech, startup, all types of crazy things in his career. So if you could please give a warm round of applause for Edward Vilmetti.
Thanks, Derek. My name's Ed Vilmetti. One day a week I organize lunch, which is how I normally introduce myself when I'm at that lunch. But the other 5 or 7 or 8 days a week, I work for Arbor.com. Arbor.com is the 2-day-a-week print newspaper in town, and also 24/7 online news and information website. That's been running since last July, and in that time, people who've been reading that site have made about 70,000 comments to the stories that have been printed there. And I have been reading a lot of them. So what I want to do is give a bit of a talk about lessons learned both in the last some number of months of watching that process go, watching a news organization adapt itself to being much more close to people who are commenting on the news and engaging with it. Also to talk about some of the history of how I got to that spot and watching and noticing things that are going on in Ann Arbor from the perspective of how they look online. and then give some suggestions for how people who are looking to engage with this and have run into some issues that we've run into in putting together a system and service and like an online world that lets you have a reasonable conversation with everyone who shows up, whether they know anything or not about what they're commenting on. So I'll start out with a little bit of sort of background of Arbor.com. I was hired there and was an employee the first day the site went live back in July of last year. This is my first job in journalism. There's something particularly brave about entering a field that's been reducing in size every year for the last number of years. So like a new entrant into a shrinking pool. Previous to that, I have been doing internet-related things since 1985, which is like way too long. And I'm waiting for the pension to kick in anytime now, because I'm due. So if you look at this thing from a history perspective, like how did Arbor.com get to be here, and why does it care so much about what people type into the comment box? The first thing you want to look at is the sort of immediate predecessor to it, which is the Ann Arbor News. The Ann Arbor News was a newspaper for, I think they said 175 years before it shut down. And when it shut down, the owners of it decided to just turn the whole thing off, sell the building, fire everyone and start something brand new. And that got the headlines around the country. We even made The Onion as an example of like the decline of the news industry. And it's a funny thing, you sort of like, all right, this is this brand new startup. But it's also a piece of ongoing journalism tradition that's been going on in this town since there was a town. And to have a corporate parent decide to shut everything down and start over again kind of gives you pause to think, okay, like what was wrong before, and what would you do? What would you need to do right to make it different? The predecessor site to Arbor.com was Ann Arbor News. I have read that newspaper religiously. It helped to not always have a job to read the news as much as it was being written. But I was between jobs. My wife started law school. I had small kids taken care of, so like there was time to read every story that came out. That paper had an RSS feed, which it had set up itself. It also had a Twitter feed, which I set up for it because I wanted to read it on Twitter. So I guess this caused some consternation in the newsroom because they didn't really know that I was doing it, and I wasn't working for them at the time. To take the news feed and turn it into Twitter and like follow, have it start following people and follow yourself and like read all the headlines as they come along. And there was a really interesting perspective on it because in some cases the news would come out online before it hit print, and I noticed a story that I care about enough to make note of it. And I noticed a story, and it's like, well, they're writing about this guy, and it's missing something. It's missing a felony conviction or something like that. That if the reporter knew about it, they would have certainly put into the story. And because it was online and because of this print deadline lag, the comment that I was able to make by sending an email to the reporter before it hit print actually had time to make it into print. And that's the sort of funny, weird inversion that the news industry has really started to go through. When I first read news feeds online, there were a couple different versions of that. The Stanford AI Lab had an AT Newswire that it had its artificial intelligence programs clipping. Back in the 1980s, occasionally some of those would leak into mailing lists that I was running. In the early 1990s, I was running an internet service provider that had a Reuters news feed. Reuters sold us a single user license to read their news on their proprietary software. and my coworkers were smart enough to turn it into a newsfeed. So we read Reuters like really religiously. Reading a newswire is fascinating because unlike a newspaper, which gives you the story, the newswire gives you like whatever fragment of the story it has, whenever it has it. So Reuters will say, give a timely story, like Berlin Wall falls, and the first time it runs that story, it's like one sentence, Berlin Wall, and then like 90 seconds later, Berlin Wall falls, first paragraph of the story, and then 2 minutes later, first paragraph, and you might get 8, 9, 10 updates from the story that's coming out. And that's really different from reading a print paper. It's a little bit closer to what it starts to feel like reading an online thing, because the sense of time lag between the time the thing happens and the time that the people writing about it tell you everything they know, even if it's not very much, goes down. And that's one place, especially when you're looking at a local paper, where the role of comment starts to become important. Arbor.com is much smaller than the Ann Arbor News was. There's fewer reporters. There's 2/7 of the print pages. It's a bigger online spot, but not by that much. And so one of the things that ends up happening is that stories sometimes don't tell the whole story, and you desperately hope that you're able, by virtue of having a site that people are reading and also willing to comment on, and also smart enough to comment on with something that's useful, that you as the reporter, or you as the blogger, or you as the writer, or you as the editor, can tell more of the story after having written it by virtue of listening to what people have to say. My favorite example of that is when the power went out on the west side of town a couple months ago. There's a special place in my heart for tracking power outages. I'm not quite sure why, but every time the power goes out, like I'm on. There's nothing more fun than figuring out why the transformer blew. And that's what it did. It caught fire. There were blue flames up and down Liberty Street and just like crazy stuff. And a big part of the west side of town went out. And I was awake, and my power wasn't on. And so the challenge of the comment management, comment moderation, like, what the hell is going on? There's no way you can, like, send your crew out to figure out who has power. And so the challenge was, okay, how many different things can you read in order to put together a convincing map of where the power is off, and where the power is on, and, like, what's happening, and who has a generator. And so that was a couple of hours work in an evening. It was scouring Twitter for mentions that people had that their power was either on or off. It was looking at my Facebook friends to see what they had to say. It was looking at comments on our website. It was putting together a Google map, and there's Google shared maps that would let me pinpoint the spots that I knew, and also and also have readers comment in such a way that they could pinpoint spots or they knew that somewhere something was going on. Try not to have people call things in while they're driving. That's frowned upon. But they can stop or pull into the township or something and update things. And so by the time that event was done, collectively the people who cared about it noticed a few things. They sort of had a map of where it happened and where it didn't happen and where things were being turned on. There were accounts from the field of DTE personnel flipping the switch on transformers to bring things back to life. Very important news that Knight's Market has a generator, and if you really need a stiff drink, you can. Then the power will be on there because they had meat there, and they don't want to have meat spoil when it goes out. So this is like community information gathering that I can't imagine doing in an internet age with you have readers. And also community information gathering really works best when you have a functioning online site. Find that people read when they need to know what's going on, that's updated more quickly than the print deadlines would allow, that has enough comments going through it, that there's enough people watching it so that things don't spiral out of control, which is the second half of this talk, because when things do spiral out of control. And just enough of a sense, and I don't want to call it a sense of community, because like there is a community, right? It's not a sense of community. It's just it's not all typing at your website right now. It's distributed out through the world. It's people in rooms like this. It's people reading their Facebook friends. You know, it's wherever it is, there it is. You sort of have to be. So that's the challenge. The title of this talk is Managing the Public Conversation as if that were possible, right? So there's not really any way that you can actively tell people what to say or tell people what to think about or control what they have to say. But you can do things that encourage certain kinds of behavior and discourage certain other kinds of behavior. You can do things that provoke people to respond to you in kind, in a good way. And you can do things that make people look forward to reading what they have to say, tearing their hair out when they have to deal with themselves being mentioned in print. And it's a really tricky balancing act, and the experiment is not over yet. So let me describe to you how my day works and what I do on a regular basis to manage the conversation, help manage the conversations that go on at Arbor.com. Every 4 days a week, I have a 2-hour-long shift, typically from 1 to 3 p.m., where I read every single comment that gets posted to the site during that time. Other people on staff have other shifts. We also have a service helping us watch things overnight. So 24/7, there's someone paying attention. They're not always paying attention every second, but certainly every minute or every 15 minutes, every half hour. So there's someone who has read everything and noticed it and sort of taken it in. Sometimes you just read it and say, yep, slow day today, slow news day, that's always good. Sometimes people are having the sort of normal discussions that people who disagree with each other have. So they're not always saying particularly nice things, but they're saying them in a way that's not obviously offensive. So that's cool. And every once in a while, things spiral out of control. Things tend to spiral out of control with sports, because every time you have, this is something you realize, right? Okay, so you're running a newspaper. It's a general purpose newspaper. It seeks to reach a broad audience. It seeks to reach everyone in town, including everyone out of town who cares about your sports team. My brother reads it. He lives in Omaha. He went to school here. He only reads the sports section. I'd like to think he reads what I write, but he probably just reads football. Not only do you have all of your hometown happy to hear rah-rah stuff about your team stuff, but every Spartan is reading it, and every Buckeye is reading it, and everyone who would like to say nothing more than some rude word and sneak it past monitors and local newspaper to say something bad about things. So you have that sort of tension in the sports world. It's mostly good-natured, although sometimes it gets rude. On the other hand, in a lot of cases, the people who are participating in these sports are kids or not very old. This tendency where strictly on the sports end sometimes get out of hand in such a way that you want to slow them down or discourage them from what they're doing. When Arbor.com turned on its sports coverage, it inherited all the sports fans from MLA, including all the people who were just there to be the troll. You can see eyes with me. A great big picture of the troll. Now, I'm from the Upper Peninsula. We were taught at a very early age that everyone who lives below the bridge is a troll. So you're all trolls. But the troll, the online troll, is the person who deliberately engages in conversation just to provoke people to get them to say something. It's the person who says, well, I was a nurse on that shift and I injected them with morphine and I did the right thing. It's like, no, you aren't. You're just some chump sitting in your basement and you're nothing like that. But you have people who get their jollies from from being provocative. And sometimes those are very smart, and you don't want to completely get rid of them. And sometimes you want to do everything in your power to simply make it more attractive for them to read the Lansing State Journal, or to read WTIV, or to, some others. Just go away, can't bother me. So the sports part of the world is a difficult part of the world. It's mostly manageable because mostly it's people. There's a certain fun for it. We regularly run into comment moderation issues on stories. We refer to this pretty regularly as stories involving tragic deaths, as if any death was not tragic. But the whole notion that if someone has died, you want to treat the story in a different way and treat the comments in a different way than if this were just some other incident. And this gets, we get reminded of this every time something comes up where that happens, where there is a tendency for some people to have a single-minded perspective on whether it be gun control or bicycles on the roads or something else that is their either pet peeve or passion, depending on whether you want to like them that day. Say something completely insensitive and completely off base. And whereas in a story just about that topic in general, you might let that slide because that's who they are and that's their perspective and they're not being mean or offensive in that. When you're writing about someone who dies, you have to treat it differently because you're not just writing that for people to have fun and talking about the issues of the day. You're writing about that for the family too. So we treat that differently. I was reminded this morning that pets are people too, and so when pets die, when animals die, and the owners of the animals are in that same sort of situation, again, the general comments that might make it go on a general story about whether it's okay to have certain breeds of animals is a good thing. It just gets treated differently. It's also often the case that stories about the schools, especially these days, get a lot of heat and sometimes more heat than light. We've been struggling with that. Some school districts and some principals and some parents and some teachers are much more confident in their ability to engage the public directly than others. And so we've been struggling with trying to figure out how a story that gets into the question of policy for how a school should deal with a shrinking budget should accommodate the various needs of the people who are going to talk about the taxes are too high, the people who only want the stuff that's best for their kids, the parents who don't care for the administration, the parents who support the administration, the teachers from the teachers union, you name the constituency, there's someone out there in it, and you kind of hope that you don't have that conversation about millions of dollars of budget overlap into some poor kid's band concert from 6th grade. And so you sort of, again, have this dichotomy of something that would be okay in the discussion of the account of the school budget. If someone talks about it in the wrong place, we will often note that this is not an appropriate piece of what we're talking about to put it there. Take that out of here. We get that sometimes also with political things, religious things. There's some people who have very strong views about members of certain religious groups in this town, and will go to the extent of hijacking stories about food to promote their particular religious views. And again, you sort of have to figure out where you're going to draw the line and be consistent with it. No one likes being arbitrarily told that the comment that they just wrote is not acceptable for publication. We try very hard if someone is writing something that almost works, except they snuck in a personal attack at the end, to write to them personally and say, thank you for your comment, chose not to publish it, it's mostly okay. If you want to rephrase a portion of it, we will accept it. And often even just engaging people at that level is enough to turn someone who would have hated you if you had been arbitrary, into someone who sort of doesn't like that you're doing it, but is willing to begrudgingly put up with it. As I said, the system has taken about 70,000 comments in the last, 7, 8 months? So figure about 10,000 comments a month, about 300 comments a day. Mostly they're spread out over 15 hours. That's 20 comments an hour. That's a comment at ordinary daytime times of a comment every 3 minutes. Yeah, sometimes 1 minute, sometimes less. When I'm on my comment moderation shift, I'm responsible for some fraction of those comments because I see the stream of stuff coming in, and because I am who I am, I think this is because why I'm there, is I actually try to fact check the comments as they come in. You read them all and say, Domino's Farms had problems with Superior Township? Actually, no, it was Ann Arbor Township, right? And sort of like figure out what search you have to do to give someone a link back to the story that they sort of half remembered, that you can point them back to something maybe beyond your personal memory, but you can sort of stick it in there and say, well, I know it's actually in 2002, and here's the New York Times story on it. I'm handicapped a little bit in doing that because the archives of the Ann Arbor News are not very easy to get online. The last couple years are online pretty well. Back to 2003 or 2002, I could get them through the public library. But sort of anything that happened before 2002, the newspaper of record starts to become the Michigan Herald. And then if you go back too far, the newspaper of record for this town is sadly the Toledo Blade, which wrote just enough stories about Ann Arbor in its illustrious history. Toledo Blade is, after all, one of America's newspapers. And it, if you want to read online about the 1967 floods in Ann Arbor, you want the best story that's easy to find, the Toledo Blade's report of it, from down by the mouth of the Huron River near Lake Erie, they come upstream a certain way, is the best thing to do. So sometimes, adding that voice of, yeah, I know this, even though I wasn't here, even though I'm pretending to be a town, I've only been here for 25 years. And I can't rattle off stories about the 70s or the 60s or the 50s, but I still have to pretend that I can. And so the sort of fact-checking things, trying to insert the voice of reason when things are unreasonable. Typically, as people ask me online, isn't that soul-crushing to read all those comments? And the answer is really simple. A thick skin, because it's not usually personally about you, or even if it is, it might be just a troll. And a sense of humor. There's some kinds of humor that works pretty well online. Typically, sarcasm is not one of them, but pointing out gently that someone who was criticizing your spelling also made a grammatical mistake, that's fair game. Neutering criticism just by being more witty, by being more on topic, by being more relevant, by inserting a fact where no facts have been put in before. And you can learn an awful lot by reading the entire newspaper and all the comments. I know much more about University of Michigan football than I did a year ago. I know much more about the Historic District Commission than I did a year ago. Actually, I know how much less I know about the Historic District Commission than I should know, because damn, that thing is complicated. And people who are complaining about it, they don't know, and they just say, oh, the mayor, why isn't the mayor doing the right thing? It's like, well, the mayor is 9 steps removed from this whole process. And I'm not quite sure that we're elevating the level of civic discourse. Frankly, there are some other organizations in this town who set that as more of their mission. And the difficulty of trying to conduct a conversation in a town with so many people online, and where the primary newspaper in a lot of households is the New York Times, and not any local newspaper. None of them, right? Read the Times, that's what they do. Is a real challenge. And it's been fascinating. I was taking really good notes the first couple weeks I worked there, and it just got to be so overwhelming. All the stuff that someone who was reading carefully everything that was going on, or trying to, at least 8 hours a week. And just the level of detail that you would want to have in order to notice when someone is completely off base and to be able to flag that and correct it has been a challenge. And so I'm, 8 months into this experiment. It's something that I never thought I would do. It's not clear that anyone who's currently working there ever thought that they would be that concerned about what people had to say. The verdict is still out. From a perspective that's specific to marketing people, we haven't really had that many people doing commercial spam for us. That tends to get filtered out pretty fast. So it's mostly been, most of the things that have generated controversy have been either political or economic in some way. But it's been a challenge. So if I'm okay for time, what I'd like to do is take your questions. Some of them won't be appropriate to answer, I'll just warn you that ahead of time. But I'd love to take any questions you have, and also if anyone wants to watch over my shoulder while I moderate comments, I'm going to be heading back to work and be happy to show you what the whole system looks like. I tried to demo that live, and that doesn't work very well. But if you want to read what everyone has to say today about everything that's happening, be my guest. Follow me up. So, Eric.
Yeah, thanks. A question. You said about 20 comments an hour for Arbor.com. Do you know how that compares to, say, the New York Times or other larger papers? Is that good, bad, small?
I'm not really sure. I have to look that up. I know that there are other systems in the world who generate a lot more comments than that. I'm thinking of some of the most popular weblogs that have a global audience for technology will get comments on each item, and we on a busy item will get 60 or 70. On a not very busy one, like the ones that I write, we'll get 3. And 2 of them will be from me.
Sherry Mercy. Can you tell us how viable Arbor.com is? What's your subscription rate? Are you guys going to last past a year? What's the story?
The management is very careful not to tell me very many numbers. The internal meetings that we have say that we're on target for whatever that means, and say that management is happy with the financial results. The organization is owned by the Newhouse family. They have complicated reasons for doing this, which means that the considerable investment in spinning up a new organization at some point in their calculus is spread out over the whole empire. So whether in a given month we're cash flow positive or cash flow negative depends on the imputed value of all that learning for the rest of the organization. I haven't seen anything to think that it's not going well. I think that the owners are in it for the long haul, and I think they're, from all I can tell, they're clearly better than things were last year because they don't have as big an organization to fund. So even if you're losing money, and I don't really know, it's much less than how it was a year ago. So year on year, better results. Right?
Jane Delancey, you had talked about your comment moderation shift and how you are moderating comments before they're posted.
No, we moderate them after they're posted.
Okay, so then if something's out of control, you go in and respond to the individual. Because I was wondering how you manage some of that with a little more detail about that.
Yeah, so the question was whether we moderate comments before they get posted or after. So there's 2 schools of thought in that. Actually 3 schools of thought. One school of thought is from The Onion, where they say, we're not going to post any of your comments because we simply don't care what you have to say. Right? And for that humor magazine, that's like the perfect thing. You don't want to have those things. The other approach is to screen everything before it comes in and then post the ones that you want to and discard the rest. The BBC does this to a tremendous instead they only excerpt from the ones that they care about, and most stuff lands on the floor. The challenge with moderating before it goes live is that you build up a queue of things that need to be moderated, and so there's the chance that you could get behind, and there's the chance that you could get really behind. And during the middle of a football game, that would be bad. During the middle of a power outage, that would be bad. There's a lot of cases where you don't want to force yourself to staff up to handle bursty loads. So instead you staff things so that after the fact you can deal with things and hopefully they won't stay online any longer than they need to be. And we have a couple controls. We can remove a particular comment, mark it as unpublished and talk to the person. We can also block an individual from ever commenting again, although that's typically only used in the case of repeat offenders where they're incorrigible. And even then, if they're clearly community members, we are surprisingly generous. So, I want to take something from the back here. Take a softball question.
My name's Pete Richards. I was wondering, it looks like things are really growing. There's new names and posters and more commenters on there. And it looks like the majority of them, I don't know, but it looks like they're using a pseudonym. And I imagine they've done that for some reason of their own. I'm wondering, what is the pact between Arbor.com and the posters and commenters about your protecting secrecy of their identity? And is that posted on the site somewhere? Also, if, I don't know who is privy to the true identities, or maybe how many of the staff, you know, knows, oh yeah, that's really, sure, that's really so-and-so.
So I think there's two answers to that. The question was, like, some people don't post under their true names. There's some really great science fiction about the importance of keeping true names hidden. The challenge is, okay, so every time someone registers, they register with an email address. So we as staff know the email address of everyone who contributes. Sometimes people's email address is a one-time only email address, so they've hidden behind a Hotmail account or a Juno account or a Umish, no, not, Umish is too easy to track. They've hidden behind something that lets them sort of disguise their identity even though we communicate with them. One of the things on our radar, and I don't know the timeline for this, so I won't promise you a date, is offering more chances for people who do want to be genuine people and just, you know, Beelzebub 63, to connect their Arbor.com identity with some other identity somewhere else on the internet. I know that I would love it if it was a straightforward link from my Arbor.com account to my Twitter account. Technically, that's feasible in the sense that the movable type community platform we have lets you do that. The other sort of popular connection point would be Facebook, which would again connect to someone's true identity pretty closely. So that's one direction, is to make it easy to do that so people could really be themselves. As far as disclosing people's identities, as a policy, we remove comments where someone is trying to identify someone else's identity. So we work fairly carefully not to let people go into this outing each other more on the site. We typically know more about who people are than, well, if you know someone's email address, you know, often you can trace that back, being the smart internet searching human that you are, to some other fragment of identity that they have, or even if they're using a common pseudonym across multiple sites. You can notice that Beelzebub 63 is also a Spartan fan on the Sparty boards, so you can, you know, trace someone that way. It's tough. You know, we try very hard to let people who choose to participate under a name other than their own the right to do that, because for some people, especially, again, I come back to the sports issue, for people who are sports fans, who are an appreciable part of our legitimate audience, they may not want the Google to have a primary association between their opinions on the running back and the rest of their professional identity. And that's something I really didn't appreciate, but I really do now, because people get really worked up about the running back, and that's not something that they necessarily want to have show up when someone looks at their resume. So.
Good time for one more.
I'm Jeff Herron. Part of this experiment is substituting community involvement in news gathering for what was once a larger staff of professional journalists. And I'm wondering whether you folks track or keep track of to what extent community comments are then being used as a source for news that are leading you to send your professional journalist out. Somebody tipping you or breaking a story, do you actively search the comments for potential news leads and news stories?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the question is about whether we read the comments and then send the reporter out to actually turn it into a story. I happened to be looking at news archives from some random newspaper that Google had a copy of, and it had a little clip-out coupon. If you have news, clip out this coupon and send it in to us. So that's really old, that using your readers as sources. I am certain that every day some comment that goes past us turns into at least a story idea. That's very typical. Every once in a while, someone will post a comment that contains what if you look for the word unsubstantiated allegation, that might mean that they gave us a hot news tip that we want to actually turn into a story instead of just publishing it as a kind of we're not quite sure this comment is true, but if it is true, it really is news. So sometimes the comment stream gets moderated, not very often, but when it does, it's interesting. The comment stream gets moderated in order to take something that's a comment that really should be news and vet it and report on it to the extent that it really is news. But a lot of the comments are not like that, right? A lot of comments are sort of fact-checking, commentary, explaining to people why they're ignorant, explain to people why their view on progressive taxation is more, everything that you might expect. And with that, if anyone has any more questions, you know where to find me.
Oh, there was office.
Find me back there.
Yeah, let's give Ed a big round of applause. Thanks, everybody. Wonderful. So it's now 12:43, so we have approximately 17 minutes to get through. I don't know how many people this is here, 60, 70. Please stand up and give us your name and your company name. And if you have anything real quick to say, you can say it. If not, just pass the mic to your friend, and we'll start over here with Al Green.
Thanks, Derek. Good to see you. Hi, everybody. Al Green, and no, I'm not going to sing. And for those of you in my age group, no, I've never owned a restaurant, in the Fisher Building. What I do and do it quite well is I've been in sales for the better part of 3 decades. I'm currently employed with a company called NCS Plus. However, I am seeking and open to all new opportunities, from a mid-level account manager to a global account manager. For roughly the past, since the mid-'80s, anybody out there heard of a company called Sprint for AllNet Communications? Okay, I thought so. Good salespeople always get asked questions where they know the answer to. I was part of the first sales team for each of those companies back in the mid-'80s, here in the Detroit market. So my background does include, more than 20 years of telecommunications products and services up until the sale of my account base, which was in 2008. I had been seeking, new opportunities, looking for the next right job. Thanks.
Hi everybody, Eric Rodriguez, Client Services Manager with Ingenix Digital Marketing.
No way.
Yeah.
I'm Sally Schmall. I own Academy Coaching. I specialize in organizational consulting and career management services in higher education.
Hi, I'm Heather Deese. I am a public relations, corporate communications consultant working with global, regional, and national clients, and I'm also looking for a full-time job.
Mark Reynolds, GrowBiz, short messages.
Terry Eisenlord, owner of Health with Massage, massage therapist. Also, just became a Silpata Designs rep selling jewelry. So if you want to place an order for Mother's Day, you know where to find me. I get music. Hi, I'm Tracy Mayran. I work with Realize Websites. We design websites for small and medium-sized organizations. Our niche is functional, attractive, clean websites at affordable prices.
Extremely spooky.
I'm Carol. Excuse me. I'm Carol Hart with Move Communications, owner CEO, and we do integrated marketing communications, helping you tell your story to build relationships with customers.
I'm Anita LeBlanc, Brightbird, marketing communications, and a little bit of journalism.
I'm Kim Morgeson from O&W. We are your local Miller and a lot of other beers distributor. Woohoo! Same something away. And I am the 5th generation in my family's beer distributorship. So.
Hi, I'm Vicki Elmer. I'm a freelance writer who writes about business, careers, and the economy. I wrote the definitive backstory on the killing of the Ann Arbor News.
I don't know how to top that. I'm Diane Shelley-Koo. I'm with ProQuest. We sell information to libraries.
I don't know where all that feedback's coming from. I'm Roger Rail. I do the videotaping here, and I help people with information infrastructure.
I'm Ann Hansen, a marketing consultant and innovation executive.
Hi, I'm John Polnarowski, and I'm currently developing a software as a service CRM application. I'm actually looking for some marketing help in the form of people that are really good with marketing web-based products. So can't stick around much today, but I'll be here for the next couple of events. So if you're good at that, if you've had some experience, come talk to me.
My name is Craig Tepfer. After a career in clean energy and transportation technology, I re-careered with my own company. And I most recently wrote a book called The Hybrid Electric Home. So I'm involved in energy policy on all levels for the future.
Bring a copy.
Hello, I'm Ross Johnson with 3.7 Designs. We help companies like ProQuest and AnnArbor.com and ABL North America with their web design, web optimization, and user experience needs.
Hi, I'm Sandy Smith. I am a broker, owner of Trillium Real Estate in downtown, and a Ann Arbor City Council person.
Hey, I'm Casey Stanton with Ann Arbor Marketing, and I drive traffic to your website and I make them buy.
Hi, I'm Tony Archer, Oracle Brothers Inc., EBA, Oracle Carpet One.
Okay. I'm Mary Stachek. I'm the manager of community relations for Ann Arbor Transportation Authority, and I specialize in getting butts in seats.
Hello. What do you know? How do you do? I'm John Wolter with WolterWorks, and if you're working on a project, don't feel deterred if you don't understand some technology. Just give me a call, and I'll offer you some free information, and we'll go from there.
Dave Grambo, testing. Director of Orange Egg Advertising, a virtual full-service ad agency.
Hi, my name is Mark Sager, and I'm Assistant Administrator at eBay.
Hi, my name is Jim Langlois from Ann Arbor. I'm a small business consultant and a former entertainment industry DJ, and done a lot of things and grew up in Ann Arbor. And here to make some reacquaintances. I see some familiar faces, and it's great to be here. Thank you.
Hi, Rick Tep here with Go Small Biz, help businesses control their costs.
What do you do?
Bob Fran. I'm the owner of Bob Fran Photography, and I do commercial and advertising studio. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Tim Police. I cover U of M for Examiner.com, and I handle marketing and public relations for Potts Studio. It's my wife's photography business in Ipsy.
Hi, my name is Andy Ross, and I specialize in the Adobe Flash platform for web and presentations and other multimedia applications. So if you have any Adobe Flash needs, give me a holler.
What is it, American Idol? I'm Stephanie Schneiderman with TS Stephanie Tours. We've been designing cultural, educational, and transformational journeys to Mexico since 2006. And I'm currently working on developing strategic marketing and communication plans, as well as we're trying to develop my social media. So that's what I come here to meet all you wonderful, talented people.
Hi, I'm Stacy from Dollar Bill Printing in Ann Arbor. I've been there for, I don't remember, 22, I think 23 years. And I was so excited, I got my bill, and we printed these yesterday, and they're already on the menu today. Isn't that cool? So, anyway, if you need anything fast, great, just call me.
My name is Jeff Herron. I'm an attorney in private practice in Ann Arbor, and I'm also the publisher of Outdoor Athlete Magazine, Michigan's regional source for information about recreational sports like running, cycling, triathlon, that kind of stuff.
Hi, I'm Deb Nystrom. I'm one of those New York Times subscribers. And I did do a presentation a while back on blogs. I now have, I think, 6 mini blogs. And if any of you want access to our little group site, come and talk to me, because we did need to lock it down with a password just because we're talking about secret stuff. And I'd be glad to share it. You can find me on Revlin, R-E-V-E-L-N. If you Google that name, it's unique enough, you'll find me. And Sal and I know each other. We're in higher education consulting, and that's a lot of fun.
Hello, Milan Stavanovich, Dean of Productions and Renewable Energy Consultants.
Sabrina Gross. I work on projects for Pittsfield Township.
Hi, Elizabeth Parkinson with Ann Arbor Spark. And I don't know if Derek was going to mention something today, but I'll take the opportunity to. We're collectively, along with the City of Ann Arbor and University of Michigan, working on a project to bring ultra-high-speed cable here through the Google RFI. So if you folks in the room have not logged into a2fiber.com, do it as soon as you get home or back to your workplace on your BlackBerries, and help us participate in the grassroots effort. Thanks.
I'm Bob Shannon, CPA, own my own CPA firm. I do business and tax consulting. We specialize in small, high-tech startups.
Hi, I'm Joe DeLuca. I'm a marketing and communications pro. I drive revenue and brand awareness through communications, and I'm currently seeking new opportunities.
Benji Ben Baruch. I do quantitative analysis and facilitation of developing environments to do quantitative analysis and statistics, particularly in marketing.
Hi, I'm Joel Vergen. I'm an internet marketing consultant and entrepreneur, and on the 31st year for LA2M, I'll be presenting on social marketing and consumer reviews online. It'll be fun and informative. I hope you'll all come.
Hi, I'm Anne-Marie Gosby. I'm looking for new job opportunities. I did email marketing at ProQuest. I did pharmaceutical marketing for MSI. I also worked at Pfizer and consumer marketing for Kellogg's.
Hi, I'm Andrea Bell, marketing and communications professional looking for new opportunities.
Hi there, I'm Cynthia Richardson. I'm the president and owner of People Focus. People Focus provides human resources consulting to small and emerging business owners.
Hi, I'm Sherry Marcy. I'm your GLEQ ambassador. If you're starting up a business and you'd like some free mentoring help, GLEQ will offer that to you. It's www.gleq, GreatLakesEntrepreneursQuest.com.
Hi, I'm Larry White. I don't do karaoke. I heard the music earlier. I'm with Arrow Media. I'm a staunch defender of the First Amendment rights on the web. Recently a victim of an attempt to quash those with a frivolous lawsuit, and hope everyone else expresses themselves freely.
Hello, Lanny White, no relation. Growbiz.org. If you're a contract salesperson, we're looking for you. Come see me.
Hi, Jane Delancey, Delancey Design. Basically, we do website development, design, graphic design, and display graphics.
I'm Barry Marshall. I'm with Rainbow Rehabilitation Centers in Ypsilanti. We do rehab services for those with brain and spinal cord injuries. And I have to introduce Celine and Nicole because they won't introduce themselves.
Yeah, thanks, Mary.
I'm Susan Huntsberger. I'm with Strategize Organize LLC. I'm a professional organizer. I work with people's paper, things, and space.
Great, thank you. So they figured out what that problem was. He said we can fix it next time, so you wanted to sing karaoke while you're introducing yourself. My name is Derek Marabon, CEO of Ingenix Digital Marketing. We build websites, we optimize them, and then we drive traffic to them, a couple doors down. So next week, LA2M starts at 7 a.m. in the morning. There will be a line forming outside of this establishment. Okay? I expect you all to be there wearing green. Yeah. And someone can just volunteer to speak. We don't really care at that point. But yeah, I don't know if we'll record that or not. But so that's St. Patrick's Day, right? So there's really no LA2M, right? That was a joke. The following week, we will be back on schedule as usual with Shauna Nicholson, who's going to be talking about taking your web traffic and turning those people into like advocates for your business, right? So it should be very, very interesting. And thanks for coming out today. Thanks to Ed. That was a very insightful talk. And we will see you next time. Thank you.